Welcome everyone to my channel. If this is your first time here, pull up a seat, sit down. We are going to talk about the saga of Lauren Crepsley by Darren Shan, Palace of the Damned, the third book in the series. There's only one more to go, and I am excited about that because that means then I can go on to Darren Shan's The Living Vampire Assistant, I think it's called, The Living Assistant or something like that. The first book in the Darren Shan saga. I read a generous amount. I'm stopping at 147. It starts off with Lauren in ice in Greenland, trying to find a cave to drop the baby off in to die, so that way he can go die out in the open. And eventually he sees this eventually he gets attacked by this polar bear, and he kills the polar bear and takes the polar bear's fur to keep them warmer so he can continue finding the cave. And he sees during this blizzard this green and yellow, and it's like in and out, in and out, in and out, and he's following it. And when he loses sight of it come morning, he turns and he looks and he sees what looks like a cave, so he follows it. And there he finds the Palace of the Damned. That what's his fucking name? Petra Van Grau had laid himself down to rest inside of. So there, he puts the babe down on top of the coffin where Petra Van Grau is, and then decides that he's going to go find this cavern that's fallen in, and he's going to jump off into it and kill himself, and the baby would freeze to death, obviously. And as he goes to jump off, he realizes that he doesn't really want to die. And there is Desmond Tiny, who grabs him and pulls him up after he agrees that, he doesn't want to die. Desmond's like, oh, I saved you because I wanted to. And so they give, Desmond gives the baby, a name, finally. Gavner Pearl. So, baby has a name, and it only took 35 pages to get a name in this book, and he was nameless in the last book, too. Oh, it's called Cruit the Freak. There's that. And then it jumps forward a little bit to him being in Paris with a woman named Alicia and her friend Albert in 1906. So Alicia is somebody he comes to love and wants to be with, and he sits there and says, raise Gavner as your own child. And so she does. She accepts it, and he stays with her because he's fallen in love with her and wants to be with her. And then he meets a very fat vampire, Tannish Eel, who becomes like an uncle to Gavner, and more friendly with, because Lauren's still like pushed off and like don't want to be the boy's father because I don't believe I deserve to be the boy's father because I killed his parents type deal thing. And Tannish sits there and draws him into his business of casinos and prostitutes and the things like that, which of course he does to provide for Alicia, even though Alicia comes from money. After that, he gets, somebody comes up and says, hey, look, this woman Beatrice had taken my watch and I want it back because it was a gift from my wife. So he goes looking for Beatrice. Charlotte and Jeanette both say that we don't know where they is. The girls have vanished. This happened a couple of years ago too, where a bunch of girls just vanished working for Tannish. And that's when Larton sees marks on Jeanette's body. That means she's been marked by Vampanese. So he goes to confront Tannish about it, and Tannish admits that Randall, who was somebody that had killed off one of their friends, Randall Chain had killed Zula Pone because he was the one that challenged them when they were cubs to a duel. And he's like, I pissed him off, and so now he comes every couple of years to kill off women because he hates me. And he's like, just leave him alone, we'll move, go somewhere else, and we'll start our empire all over again. And Lauren's like, no, we have to kill this Vampanese because he's killing women. And he's doing it to spite you. He's not doing it because he needs to feed. He's doing it because he wants to be an asshole to you. So he waits above Jeanette's home for Randall to come. And when Randall does come, he fights Randall. And then he gets hit in the back of the head as he's winning by Tanish. And he wakes up and he hears them arguing. And of course, Randall doesn't want to attack a vampire that's down. Tanish just wants him to kill him. And then Randall leaves to escape. And Tanish is like, you should have just stayed out of it. You should have just left it alone. Everything would have been fine. And then he goes to attack Lauren, but he's like, I can't do it. So then he kills Jeanette. And then sucks her blood, I guess. Sucks her blood in. And then throws her down. And then she shows out that Vern Hurston is a vampire. And he's like, you better run away and not come back. So he hides out for like a week waiting, and then he calls for Alicia to come to him. Alicia's like, you're a monster. Like, I loved you, but we can't be together. I don't know if you can lie to me or not, or if you're lying to me now. I don't want nothing to do with it. And she's like, I gotta protect him to me. You told me to protect Gavner, to raise Gavner as my son, and that's what I'm going to do. And he's like, well, my name is Lauren Chrisley. I love you. None of that was fake. Marriage was a folly of the heart, but I still wanted to be with you. He's like, I'm going to go after this Vampanese and kill... I'm going to go after Randall, and I'm also going to go after Tanish, and I'm going to kill Tanish for what he did. And she's like, don't do that to Gavner. Gavner sees him as a father, unlike you. And it would devastate the boy. And he's like, fine, I'll wait until he's about adult. Until after he's an adult. And then I'm going to go after him. And then they part ways. And he goes back to Vampire Mountain. There, he confesses everything to Seba. Seba takes him to the new prince, because a couple princes have died. And the new prince that's there is Vancha. So it's now Sire Vancha. He's the prince now. One of the ruling bodies of the vampires. So he confesses everything to Vancha, and Vancha's like, well, I know you regret it, and this is the only reason why I'm going to pardon you, is because normally we don't, but you regret it, and you've crawled your way back here after changing your tune and after raising a boy, but someday you're going to be having to help a group of humans, and you're going to have to make it right what you did before. So then he trains to become a general. And then as the Festival of Vampires is gathering, and everybody's gathering in Vampire Mountain, they're going to Vampire Mountain, he meets Mika, who used to be one of his rivals, and of course Ara Sales, who was somebody who worked for the Lady of the Wild, whom he had met, and who had ran away, who had left, and she decided to become a vampire, and her job was to become a general. I ended with the fact that, it does say that decades later, when Ara was felled in her prime, Lauren would spend many nights wishing that he had made more of an effort to face her at least once on her beloved bars, forget all the chances he'd spurned, the way he avoided her to prolong a joke, only realizing how limited the opportunities had been once they were gone, like Ara forever. So they never actually become a mated pair. So that's where I'm going to end it. So far, it really hasn't dealt anything with the Palace of the Damned besides the fact that he found it, and that's how he was saved. So I'm hoping a little bit more comes into it. Was there a reason why Gavner is important in this? I do not know. I'm sure I will find out more when I read. Because there's only like 23 pages to this, and it's 236 pages long, and I'm on 147. So technically, I'm a little over halfway done with the book already, and I'm just going to read the last couple sections tomorrow to get it out of the way. Before I hit the big book back there, that's The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. I'm excited to read it, but it is pretty thick. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 500 pages or so to it. So yeah, not looking forward to reading it because it's big, 500 and some odd pages. I mean, it's like a medium-sized book, yes. But at the same time, I can't wait to get to it, so that's why I'm going to try and finish this in 2 days instead of 5 days like I wanted to, so that way I can jump right into that one and take my time reading it and not feeling rushed until the end of December, because it is currently the 21st of December, and I'll finish this the 22nd of December, so I'll have from the 23rd to the 31st to read that book. And it's going to be a lot easier reading that book without having to read 100 pages a day. To force myself to do that, I could just read like a small bit every day and get that in. Who knows, I might read more. You never know what I'll decide to do. But I do know that I have to make that last until the 31st, so that way I can get my reading in for every single day, because my goal is to read at least something every day. Though, truthfully, in 100% of everything, I do in fact read every day, but I read a lot of fan fiction, and that doesn't really count, because none of it's been traditionally published, and none of it has its own slot in Fable or anywhere else. So yeah, a lot of it's not finished, so it's like I'm continuously reading books that aren't finished. So yeah, that's where that is. Anyways, when you see me next for this, it will be the last one for this House of the Damned. I do realize that these books don't really have a main focus besides telling a story about Orange Cassidy and why he's the way he was when he met Darren in the Darren Shan saga. So I understand that, but I don't like how the titles don't really match up with anything, because like Ocean of the Blood didn't happen until the very end, but Palace of the Damned happened at the very beginning of this one. Birth of the Killer obviously happened towards the middle, and Brothers to the Death is going to be, I don't know. The final twist is a killer, so I don't know. I really don't know. See, many have entered, few have left. I don't really understand that, but I'm hoping it gives me something in the end that deals more with the House of the Damned. Okay, so I've finished this. I finished this today while I was reading, and then I took a shower, and now I'm doing laundry. I'm about to eat some fish with some tartar sauce. I have my lovely coffee right here, and I was watching some Gavin Christmas edition for background noise while I was reading. They did not go back to the Palace of the Damned, but it was mentioned. So I'm a little upset about that, but there's nothing I can do about it, okay? So Vacha the Prince Vacha March comes to Lurton one day in the Halls of Prophecy to talk about Arrow. Now Arrow is a vampire that forsake the vampires simply because he fell in love with a human mortal and married her and wanted to be with her and stayed away. Okay? So apparently a Vampanese had killed his wife Sarah, and so now Arrow is tracking down every single Vampanese he can find, challenging them and fighting to the death. He's winning, of course, because he's a very, very good fucking fighter. So he's winning. And though he's done nothing wrong, Avancha wants to stop him because he's afraid that it's going to either kill Arrow, who is a very good warrior, or it's going to strike a vampire-Vampanese war, which is what most vampires want to avoid at all costs, right? It's what they want to avoid. So, he's like, well, we're gonna go and we're gonna say to him, I'm hoping if you tell your tale about how you loved a woman and when she found out you were a vampire, she got rid of you, maybe it will stop him from doing what he wanted. So when Martin tells Seba and Wester about it, Wester's like, I want to go with you because I want to get out of the mountain. I want to be out for a little while because I haven't been out for a while, and I want to go out and enjoy the world for a little while because even though I'm a guard to the princess, I want to go out because vampires are restless, right? So he's like, okay, you can come along as long as Vancha allows it. Before they leave, Seba gives Lartin some clothing, and it is a pair of sharp red trousers, a stiff crimson shirt, and a blood red cloak. And he puts them on, and he twirls, and he enjoys it. A little too much in my opinion, but hey, who can deny themselves their luxuries, right? So Vancha used the bloodstone to pinpoint Arrow, and then Paris would help them guide them later on because Paris could talk to both Vancha and Lartin so they can get the direction of it all together. While they were there, they went through a war zone. I'm unsure if it's World War I that they're going through or not. But a war is broken out, and they're like lots of hundreds of thousands of soldiers are dying, and they're unhappy about it because it's just a waste of life for them. And then Lartin sees a group of humans struggling across this no man's land, which is basically you go into it, you die. Normally they don't send soldiers into it at night, and Lartin's like, I gotta help these people get back to their people. And so just like, go do what you need to do to clear your conscience, because he wants to make up for slaughtering the bunch of people on the ship. So though they fear him, he helps them get to where they're supposed to be. And then they find Arrow in the remains of a mansion that had been bombed. Arrow's sister says, I didn't expect you to come with support. Were you afraid to face me on your own? And then Vancha's like, why would I be afraid of a friend? And he's like, oh, not the people I was expecting, but hi. So they have this little talk about how Vancha is now a prince, and Arrow wants him there to help. Then Lartin tells his little story, and he's like, I speak for you, but it's not the same. And then he asks, well, what happened? So a Vampinese found Arrow by chance and wanted to challenge Arrow to a duel. Arrow denied it over and over again because he didn't want to. But then he threatened to kill Sarah if he didn't fight. So Arrow fought the Vampinese, and he's like, I have to kill you now, as he was winning. And the Vampinese sat there and took out a knife and threw it and got Sarah in the throat, which obviously killed her. And so he killed the Vampinese, and now he's on the rampage because of it. Then a Vampinese comes along, and they fight, and of course Arrow wins. And then Vancha's like, even death may you be triumphant, you should have accepted his name, because he didn't get his name. And then Wesker talks him back into going back to Vampire Mountain. He's like, the vampires will never go to war with the Vampinese. And then Wesker's like, they will. If enough of us seek it, the princess will listen. If we recruit vampires of influence and respect, as you once were and can be again, we'll bend the clan to our will. It probably won't happen soon, but they're willing. I swear it on this blood. And then he took the blood of the Vampinese and wiped it on Arrow's face, which was fucking weird. Vancha didn't like that, and Red and Lartin, and they're, hoping that, the princess wouldn't conform to the wishes of the few who want to go to war with the Vampinese. Because it's gonna be a bloody ass fucking war. And then, Lartin's like, well, Vancha's like, you're not gonna come back to Vampire Mountain. He's like, how do you know? I can read it in your eyes. He's like, yeah, there's some things I want to take care of. And then he invites Wester along. And the first one he finds is Ivana, because he was feeling her powers, her magic. And of course, she had always told him that he would always be able to find her. So, he comes. He's like, I'm merely here to apologize. I don't want to court you. And she's like, you don't need to say sorry. If anything, I should beg pardon for overreaction. He was like, you were entirely justified. Because, she scarred him. And so they went inside to discuss. They talked about Arrow. They talked about Ara. They talked about Melora. And, then he asked the question he wanted. That he found the tomb of Perta Vingral and how Mr. Tiny was there and saved him from suicide. And he's like, I want to know why a man, he is known for his interference and cruelty, that when he plays with people, twists their lives and wrings foul pleasure from the torment. And he's like, truth is not a criticism. I said nothing about him that is not true. And then she's like, I'll tell you this out of respect. If you're going to die, you'll have died having led a good life in the service of the clan and content that your death has made a difference. It will be a noble end, and your soul will surely find paradise. He's like, paradise? And she's like, well, you've tried to put them to right, which you did wrong. If you can do that, you'll be able to hold your head up proudly when your hour comes. I don't believe any higher force will deny you the reward that awaits beyond. So, yeah. She gives them a couple of small pan for cooking and stuff and says, here you go. And then he goes to Paris to find a woman he once loved. In Paris, they eventually track her down to the suburbia where she has a little girl named Sylvia, with a man. He finally approaches her to find out what happened to Gavner, and she talks about how she fell in love with someone named Jean, and he talks about his life as, a vampire general. Then Jean was killed, but she loved him, but not as much as she loved Lartner. And they said, well, that's going to be your son. And he's like, our son. So she says Gavner was distraught that you both vanished. And then years later, Tannish returned. He tried to woo me, but I wouldn't let him. And I said, I vowed to reveal his true identity if he stayed, and told him I'd left an incriminating document with the Lord to be opened in the event of my death. And it was a long letter that included both of them. But she's like, now I will just go tomorrow and have your name removed. He's like, there is no need. I have little to do with humans. And she's like, Gravner withdrew from me entirely. I suspected Tannish. He appeared to have left Paris, but I thought he was still here. I tried to search for him. Gavin stopped coming home a lot, and then one night he never returned. And she's like, I think Tannish convinced him to become a vampire. I think he's one of your kind now, except he doesn't have an honest law-abiding master like you did. And she's like, you remember when I told you not to harm Tannish? Ooh. She's like, I take that back. Find him, Ver, kill him, and make that monster that abducted my child suffer before you finish him off. So then Wesker and so they got together, visited every night. They talked about stuff, did everything, and then they eventually left to go back to the Vampire Mountain. He's like, can I come and see you again whenever you please? He's like, I might not return for years. He's like, if I do not come, that means, I died. And she's like, don't talk about gloomy shit. And they go back to, when they're back at Vampire Mountain, they learn that Mika Verleth had been summoned by Paris Sky. And it was rumored that the young general was to become a prince by Paris and nominating him. And, Wesker doesn't believe that Mika should become one because they want someone to become a prince that will give them what he wants, which is basically go to war with the Vampanese. He says, vampires are based on strength that they can bring to the clan, not what they can do for you personally. And then he starts, recruiting people like this new fresh-faced vampire, Curtis Mount. He's like, then Lauren asked for a private meeting with Vancha, and he says if he was going to be staying until Mika arrived, and he's like, I plan on hanging around a while, and he's like, I have need of a friend, and he's like, oh, does this have anything to do because of the girl? And he's like, no, this has nothing to do with our Mika, this has business that I need help with the prince. He says, he's like, I'll go. And he's like, well, what about Mika? He says, between you and me, Paris is going to nominate him, but I've already given my vote, so I don't need to be here. So they track down Tanish Ul in Urasha territory. The rival of destroying that had torn the Grand Old Country apart. And they see Tanish and Gavner. He's like, I need to do this when he's sober. So they waited for the pair on the roof of the hotel. And then they met. Gavner goes in front of Tanish, and he's like, Lauren's like, stand aside, Gavner. And then Tanish is like, no, don't leave me. It's like, back off or all. And then Tanish is, Gavner, please step aside. You have been misled and misinformed. This man is a charlatan. He has to save the laws of the clan. You owe him no allegiance, and it will go badly for you if you try to defend him. And Gavner's like, clan? The vampire clan. So he's like, you're a vampire too? Aye. And then there are more of you? Of course. There are thousands of us. Gavner thought there was like hundreds. We live by strict laws. Tavish has broken these laws and must pay the price. Now step aside. And Tavish looks, no, he'll kill me. And he's like, I won't let you. Gavner's like, I won't let you. He's like, you're a lawyer. That's him. But your lawyer has been in place. This piece of scum is not worthy of it. And then he looks at Tanish and goes, I think you took Gavner because you loved him. If so, would you see him killed now? He's like, I will do what a general must. I'm here for you, Tanish. And I have to kill Gavner to get to you. I will. But I do not think you will force me to do that. He's like, Gavner, like, don't listen to him. And then Tanish is like, no, this is between you and me. Gavner is innocent. Will you give me word that you won't harm him? I will. And then Gavner's like, Master, no. And then he's like, peace. There is much that you do not know about me, and you will not like me if you know. And he's like, do you know that I'm a killer? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm a man of many weaknesses. I have murdered innocent women and allowed others to be butchered when I had the power to spare their lives. And he did it because... And Gavner's like, you must have had a reason. He's like, no. I want to sacrifice them for my own life. So... He's like, go ahead and execute me. And he's like, Lauren's like, I didn't come here to execute, I came here to fight. He's like, no. And so he scratches him and go, leave, never see my sight again. And then Lauren's like, what about Gavner? Well, he said, please go. And then Gavner went to move, and Lauren's like, wait. And then Vansha kills him. And he's like, Gavner's like, what have you done? He was like, it was a killer. The clan demands the death of those who kill without just cause. It was not in my power to set him free. Another was waiting to dispatch him. But at least he died thinking freedom was in his grasp. That was better than facing death honestly. Tanish never had much for honesty. It was like, you had murdered him, as I sent him to his death, but I suppose from a certain point of view, that is one in the same thing to you. And he's like, Gavner's like, I'll kill you. If you don't deal with me tonight, I'll track you down. And Lauren's like, you will not have to wait. He pulls a knife out, gives it to Gavner, and then he bows himself down. He goes, my name is Lauren Crisply. I'm a vampire general. Tanish Ul was actually for good reason. I do not apologize for that. But I also slaughtered your real mother and father. In a moment of mad rage, I took their lives and left you an orphan. If you chose to take my life as repayment for theirs, you will be within your rights, and no vampire will hold it against you. Pass judgment on it, Gavner Pearl, and let your hand rise or fall as destiny decides it must. So he's in the muddy filth of the Pertagona, offering his throat and calmly waiting for the stunned, uncertain Gavner to spare his life or kill him as he saw fit. And this is to be continued. So I'm excited to read the next one because I want to know whether or not Gavner. I obviously know Gavner spares him because he's the one that bloods Darren Shan in the Darren Shan saga that got me started into Darren Shan's books. So yes, I do know, but I want to know why Gavin doesn't kill him. I want to know what happened to Gavin too, because like Gavin is not mentioned at all. But then again, this is where in after to explain what made Larton. So that explains why he wasn't mentioned. Now, my favorite character in this, I don't think I have one, but I guess Martin, because he's the main character, and he did some bad shit, but he made up for it, and he did let Gavner die. He kept him alive. Even though he treated him coldly, he still kept him alive. My most disliked character is, of course, Tanish, for allowing humans to die, because he just wanted to live himself, the fatty who let himself go. Was to that as memorable? The fact that they made a big deal out of Petra von Groll's Palace of the Damned, and then swept it under the rug. They made it insignificant. Hi, cat. It's insignificant. It's not worth mentioning at all, because it's like, oh, I found it. Yay, you're Harold, a great person because you found it. But that's it. That's fucking it. That's all it is. It's not worth the great hype that it was given in the first 2 books. Not at all. And the name of it, is not worth the hype for it either. The name is not even worth it. It's not. This should have been called, get your butt out of my face. Something else. I do have a favorite passage, from this story. Let me get to it. It is this one. These clothes, okay, after he'd been given the clothes, the red trousers, crimson shirt, and blood red cloak, he's like, these clothes were a sign that he had come of age, and he would wear them, or replacements like them, for the rest of his life. Only death would part him from this covering of beloved red. So, there's that. My favorite quote, I don't really think I have a favorite quote. Oh yeah, we do. I do. We can't hide from our fears. It's something Blanche says to Larton about bringing Arrow back to the clan, because he thinks the clan would be better without Arrow there, trying to amp up people for a Vampinese war. What I thought about it, it's a good little cliffhanger at the end of the book, but it didn't go at all what I thought it would. Like, Palace of the Damned was briefly in it, but it's briefly mentioned throughout the rest of the book, and it's just like, doesn't really have anything to do with it. It's not significant in any way, shape, or form, besides the fact that it's where Gavner Paul got his name, it's where Larton Cripsley didn't die, even though he tried to commit suicide, and that's it. That's literally all it fucking is. And it's just, what book to remind me of? The other 2 books that I read of this, of Larton Cripsley, because it basically goes on the same line. The title does not really fit the book. I mean, Born of a Killer sort of does, but Ocean of Blood at the very end had issues, reasons for why it was called that, and then this was at the very beginning, and then it had nothing to do with it, besides Larton's journey. I don't know Brothers of Death has in store, but we'll see. This book, as you know, is part of a series called The Saga of Larton Cripsley. It's a prequel to the Saga of Darren Shan, or the Creature Freak series. It has to deal with Larton Cripsley. This also has 4 books. The Darren Shan has 12, so technically 16 book series. I rate this a 3.5 because it didn't have really much to do with the title of the book. Really anything super significant happening in it. So if you guys think I deserve a like, comment, review, a lovely subscription, why don't you go ahead and drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.